Hey everyone, how's it going? Aaron Rift here from NoDQ.com. I am being joined as always by my partner in crime as we do these prediction videos, good old JM, Jeff Meacham. How you doing today, Jeff?
Feeling good today, Riff. We got the NXT predictions on the horizon. I got the shirt out. I actually wore it to school today to drop Dylan off. People were like, "Wow, you watch NXT?" I was surprised people actually knew about NXT. I was impressed.
Wow, that's interesting. So NXT is sort of the hot commodity in WWE right now. You know, a friend of mine, he's a fan of No DQ&A Video and your show as well, Talk Wrestling and After the Bell. His name is Kyle. Some of you might know him as Interstate Kyle. He sent in questions many times. I met him the other day, and his grandfather's actually a huge fan of NXT. He loves NXT way more than Raw and SmackDown. That seems to be a general consensus from a lot of people that NXT is the brand to watch, especially for older wrestling fans, people that like the old school style of wrestling. Would you agree on that?
I'm telling you, if I didn't have to do After the Bell every week, or if I didn't feel like I wanted After the Bell every week, I would honestly just watch NXT and Cruiserweight Classic. Because Raw and SmackDown are just like anymore. NXT and the Cruiserweight Classic are awesome.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to NXT Brooklyn 2, which is this coming Saturday night, one night before SummerSlam. Like last year, there's a lot of hype for this show. I think maybe last year's card had a little bit more hype, but this year I still think has the potential to be the show of the year, and a couple matches on this card could be match of the year contenders, no doubt about it. What do you think about this card overall?
Overall, I think it's not as good as you mentioned compared to last year's, but last year's was stacked. You had Finn Balor and Kevin Owens. You had Bayley and Sasha in the match of the year, arguably. But this year you've got six announced matches, and as far as comparing it to SummerSlam, it's much less hype this year, and I think SummerSlam has more of a hype to it this year and more of a build than last year's. I think they're on equal standing this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's 6 matches. SummerSlam is going to be about 6 hours this year. It's crazy. I think they have 9 or maybe even 10 matches set for this pay-per-view. So SummerSlam, they're just throwing a million things to the wall for this year's SummerSlam pay-per-view. A lot going on. But NXT, the thing about NXT I like is that it's a shorter show. I mean, that's the thing. With Raw, it's 3 hours every week. It drags on. SmackDown is a little more tolerable because it's only 2 hours. And with this NXT show, I like a 6-match show. Each match is given a lot of time, and each match has focus. And I think that makes it a stronger show, the fact that it's kept short and to the point. So let's go ahead and break down the matches here. You want to start us off with the opening match for this event?
Well, what's been announced, it hasn't been announced an opponent yet, but the debut of the mysterious Ember Moon is going to happen on NXT Takeover 2. Basically, if you haven't followed the other women promotions in the state of the United States, you don't know who she is, but if you followed Shimmer and Women Superstars do Uncensored, I believe it's called, God help me, and Anarchy Championship Wrestling, you know who Athena is. She debuted with Booker T's promotion in Houston, Texas, under the name Trouble, and she signed with WWE last September, actually September 11th, believe it or not. And Ember Moon kind of had a soft debut, a dark debut back at TakeOver the End, defeating Peyton Royce. So they're bringing her in. They're really getting a lot behind her. They've had a lot of hype videos for her, a lot of promotion for her, and it looks like she's going to be one of the focal points of the women's division going forward.
So I would assume she's going to win this match regardless of her opponent, unless her opponent is some major superstar that WWE is bringing in as a surprise. Would I be right to assume that?
Yeah. Honestly, with Ember Moon, they've pushed her to the moon, if you will. They've really got a lot of promotion behind her. They've hyped her debut the last few weeks on NXT television, and it seems that she's going to be, if Bayley does indeed leave following Takeover Brooklyn, we're going to see Asuka, we're going to see Peyton Royce, we're going to see Billie Kay, and we're going to see Ember Moon.
Well, there you have it. So not much to note about this. Who do you think the opponent might be? Just anybody, any random person?
It'll probably be one of the two girls they've been using a lot as far as the signees, that being either Peyton Royce or Billie Kay. But I don't think they want Billie Kay to lose right now, so they'll probably have the same girl to face from the dark match back in June, that being Peyton Royce.
All right, so go ahead. What's the next match here on this card?
As far as the listing on WWE.com, going from bottom to top, if you will, although all these matches are going to be solid, you had No Way Jose versus Austin Aries. The thing I like about this match is the feud that's been built behind it, because up until Aries beat the shit out of No Way Jose, he was becoming a fast track to the Adam Rose sequel. He was out there dancing, being goofy every week. He had no real stake to his sizzle, if you will. He was just a complete goof. And then Aries handed him his butt. And all of a sudden, he came back about a month later on TV and just beat the crap out of Aries right back and really showed an aggressive, mean streak. He's like, okay, you're going to mess with me? I'll mess with you back. And it's awesome that he had a guy like Austin Aries who is known worldwide getting this kid, No Way Jose, over. I think it's such an awesome feud. It's one of my favorite feuds going into Takeover Brooklyn. And I honestly think that as much as they like Austin Aries, as much as they want him to succeed and the fans want him to succeed, I think they're going to let No Way Jose get the Duke.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah, I haven't really been the biggest fan of that character. I think it's very goofy and over the top and a lot like Adam Rose 2.0. But, you know, him having a more serious side, I definitely think that's the right direction to go in. But I'm just such a huge Austin Aries fan, and I want to see him continue to build up momentum in NXT and get on the main roster as soon as possible. He really should be there, in my opinion. So, you know, I'm pulling for Aries to win unless he's going to the main roster imminently. If that's the case, if he's going to debut on the main roster very soon, then I could see him putting over No Way Jose. But if he's sticking around in NXT for a while, I'd like to see Aries get the win. That's just my opinion. It is a tough one to call. I really do feel this one. This might be the hardest match to predict on this entire card. I'll go ahead and go with Aries, but it really could go either way, I think.
I think it could too. I'm picking Jose strictly on just instinct alone. I honestly don't have a solid prediction up here. I'm going more here than I am here. But the next match is one that has been, I wouldn't say overly hyped, but the character behind it has been overly hyped. I'm talking about the debut of the It Factor, the former TNA World Champion Bobby Roode, taking on Andrade Cien Almas. Now, there's not really much to say, in my opinion, on this match, and I'll tell you why. Andrade Cien Almas debuted under a huge press. He came in with all this momentum behind him from his past career before NXT, and he won his debut match, and since then he's very much cooled off. He's very much kind of been just languishing there in the upper mid card, and he's won a couple matches, but it's like, okay, what are we going to do with this guy? On the other hand, you've got Bobby Roode, who carried TNA for almost 2 years, who formed the most successful tag team in NXT, a tag team that reunited briefly in TNA, when James Storm returned from NXT.
Yeah.
So for me, you've got Bobby Roode, who is arguably one of, if not the biggest signee in NXT history, against a guy who's become a glorified jobber. There was really no contest here.
Yeah, and I mean, you just know the entire crowd in Brooklyn is going to be singing Bobby Roode's theme song. That is going to be an epic moment right there. I mean, Roode's just an instant star from that music alone. I mean, I think it's one of the best entrance themes that CFOs have produced to this date. I love that theme song. I think that's made him an instant star. He's going to have the star power when he comes out. You know, I think this is a showcase for Bobby Roode. I mean, Roode is my easy pick for this match.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. If Almas somehow gets the upset, it'll totally just derail everything I know about Roode really since WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, they've put so much hype into Roode, you know, teasing his signing and finally having him come out for his promo. You know, he's just getting started in NXT. This is really his showcase and his night. So yeah, that's all
Most
I
definitely.
really have to say about that one. So what's the next match?
The NXT Tag Team Championship match, a huge, much anticipated match for the for the indie darling fans, if you will, you've got Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, the guys who stole the show at the Cruiserweight Classic a couple weeks ago, one-on-one, teaming up to face the two-time NXT Tag Team Champions, Dash and Dawson, the Revival. I want so bad for this to just go in there and steal the show. I want these guys, anytime these four guys are on the card, no matter what kind of match they're in, they're going to be the ones to steal the card. They're going to be the ones to make the show, make the people go, whoa, that was the most awesome thing I've ever seen. Gargano and Ciampa really went in there in the Cruiserweight Classic with a point to prove, and they proved that point, that they can split up, go against each other, and still remain the hottest tag team in NXT today. Now, they are the hottest tag team in the company today, but they're not the two-time tag team champions.
Right.
They are not the Revival. The Revival overcame American Alpha. They overcame all the obstacles to get their championship back in an unbelievable best three falls match at the end. And I think that as hyped as Gargano and Ciampa are in NXT as a tag team, I think there's more potential there to have them as competitors in the Cruiserweight division on Raw. So they're not going to have them be tied down to the NXT Tag Team division. Therefore, I see the Revival picking up the retention in Brooklyn.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100% with what you just said. Gargano and Ciampa are new to NXT and WWE in general, and they can do stuff in the Cruiserweight division. So makes more sense for Revival to retain. They just won the tag team titles recently after several months of feuding with American Alpha. No need for them to lose the titles this soon. So, yeah, I agree with you, Revival to retain the tag team title. Should be a really exciting, fast-paced match, no doubt.
And you know what? I think that these four guys feel they have something to prove, because the entire hype of this show has been Bobby Roode, the women's division, and the heavyweight championship division. There's been no real build for this tag team title match other than that one promo they cut a couple weeks ago where Gargano and Ciampa ended up laying out the Revival. So these four guys are going to go, you know what? Let's show them why we are the two greatest tag teams in NXT right now. And they're going to go out and prove that point to the entire world.
Right. So yeah, that's exactly correct. Four hungry young lions ready to make a statement. Possibly the biggest match of Gargano and Ciampa's careers, being in Brooklyn, wrestling in front of 18,000 people. I mean, that's going to be huge for them. A major WWE event.
Easily the biggest night. Hopefully, win or lose, they will kind of look like superstars, like I know they already are.
I'm sure they will. So let's move on here to the semi-main event match.
Yes. With all due respect to the Samoan Submission Machine, the King of Strong Style, I feel this match is the main reason why I'm going to be watching on Saturday night. You've got Asuka defending the NXT Women's Championship against everybody's hugging hero, Bayley. Now, I say hugging hero, but this match has really shown me that Bayley has versatility. For the better part of her entire career in NXT, she's been the hugger, the fangirl, the girl who does whatever she can to persevere and everything like that. And that's great, but it lost her the title. Right. She wasn't aggressive when it came to Asuka. She had to be aggressive when it came to Nia Jax, but she lost her edge, and Asuka capitalized and made her tap out. This time, Bayley seemed like a badass. She's really gotten in Asuka's face more than once now, and she really showed me something at the contract signing. If you didn't see the contract signing, go back on the network and watch the contract signing for that, of course. This is going to be awesome. And I know the word awesome is used a lot, especially when the Miz is around, but this championship match, much like the tag team title match, has potential to steal not only this show, but the weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
I think these two girls are really going to tear it up. Now, prediction-wise, it's almost a given. I know NoDQ keeps saying that, Bayley's return to the main roster or debut to the main roster is not going to happen right away. I disagree. I think that this is going to be her send-off. She's going to go out in style and go down swinging a home run hit with Asuka, but Asuka will still find a way to overcome Bayley's momentum and retain the NXT Women's Championship.
Well, I agree with you on that, again, 100%, because I think Bayley is going to be on the main roster imminently. I think she should be on the main roster. Coming off of the last pay-per-view, Bayley made that surprise appearance, and she was over huge. And, I mean, she needs to be on the main roster ASAP, and it's really time. It's her time to move up to the main card. And I see Asuka retaining the title here and Bayley debuting possibly at the next pay-per-view, Night of Champions, Clash of Champions, whatever the hell they're calling it now, and challenging, maybe not challenging Sasha Banks yet. I think that'll be closer to WrestleMania, possibly at WrestleMania, but she'll debut and she'll start working her way towards Sasha Banks in WrestleMania. I think that should be the long-term goal, is to get Bayley ready for Sasha Banks at WrestleMania and have Bayley win the title at WrestleMania. That's what I would like to see happen, at least. And you start that off in September and work your way into next year.
Well, think about how over those two girls were last year in Brooklyn. Those two literally stole the weekend out from everybody, both shows. If they build that match for WrestleMania, it'll be huge, as hopefully not next president would say.
I mean, that needs to be the women's title match at WrestleMania. I mean, that has to be. I really think so. So, I think Asuka will win and Bayley moves up to the main roster.
Yep. All right, now, the next match. This is probably one of those statements that gets me heat the rest of the week here, but I'm going to say it anyway. This has been the most poorly booked feud of the night. No question about that. You got Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Championship. The most poignant moment of the entire program leading up to now was last week's NXT show, where Joe was being held back by about 10 guys, and Nakamura is just totally screwing with him.
Did he grab his got your nose?
He did. He actually grabbed him by his nose. And I'm sitting there watching this going, dude, if this had been TNA Joe or Ring of Honor Joe would have killed him.
Yeah. If this happened on Raw, everyone would complain. But since it's NXT, it gets a free pass.
Yeah. And because Nakamura, nobody gives a shit. But it's so bad. It's like, dude, if Joe did it, instead of Joe and TNA, Joe would have thrown off all 10 of those guys and ran Nakamura down like a dog, man. It would have been awful for Nakamura.
Yeah, I mean, I just watched that.
So
I was like,
bad.
What the hell was that about?
It was so bad. Now, I get that they want to make Joe just this aggressive, angry, not beast, that's probably but this aggressive Samoan bulldozer, not in MAGA, but a different Samoan bulldozer, going in, and he's going to go in there and tear Nakamura a new one. And honestly, I can't pick right now who's going to win this match. So I was going to toss a coin, but I forgot to bring a coin. I was not prepared. I forgot to bring a coin. So I will say, off the top of my head, based on sheer build alone, that Joe retains by getting himself disqualified.
Disqualification. I think people would be disappointed in a DQ finish on the pay-per-view. I would be surprised if that happens. Let me give my prediction, and maybe you can revise yours or stick with what you're going with. I think Joe's going to be on the main roster soon. I think he's another guy that should be on the main roster ASAP, and I think it would be a mistake to wait until next year. I'd like to see him go on the main roster immediately and start building him up for Brock Lesnar at next year's WrestleMania. That's what I would like to see. To me, Brock needs to put over somebody. We've been saying it for the longest time now. Somebody needs to get a solid win over Brock Lesnar, the guy that beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania and then beat The Undertaker at Hell in a Cell. Somebody needs to get that win off of Brock Lesnar, and it should be a rising star in the company. Samoa Joe's not getting any younger. I think you need to pull the trigger with the guy now, have him show up on Raw, push him to the moon, have him just destroy people left and right, build him up for Brock Lesnar. I think Nakamura should win the title here. Joe has been on the main roster, in NXT for a long time now, longer than Nakamura. I think it's time for Joe to get called up. Nakamura wins the title here, and then maybe early 2017 or the NXT event before WrestleMania, you can have Nakamura lose the title and then debut on the main roster at that time. But for now, I think it's Joe's time to move up, and because of that, I'm going with Nakamura to win the title.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Well, there you have it. I mean,
I'm all chicken shit, whatever. I mean, it's okay.
For the entire roster, would you say that Joe's a good choice to be built up for Brock Lesnar? Is that a match you'd be interested in seeing?
I think of anybody in the entire three brands of WWE right now, Joe is easily the most solid next guy to give to Brock Lesnar for a long-term program, because he beat The Undertaker, he destroyed John Cena, he humiliated Seth Rollins more than once.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably going to win at SummerSlam unless they really. We'll talk about SummerSlam next show, but it's going to be a contest between him and Orton. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
They need to have somebody that can just go in there and match his intensity. I don't think there's anybody more intense in WWE besides Brock Lesnar than Samoa Joe.
Now, I could see, like you said, maybe there being a screwy finish, whether it's a DQ or not, some sort of screwy finish that keeps the feud going, and maybe at the December event, the December NXT show, whatever they're doing in December, or if it's going to be in December, I don't know if it's going to be November or what, but the next special, you could drag out the feud and have Nakamura win the title at that event. I could see that also happening, and then Joe goes on to the main roster, maybe at the Royal Rumble, but I'd rather see Joe debut immediately and start building him up now for WrestleMania. I think the longer you build him up, the more credible he'll be as a force to go up against Brock Lesnar next year's WrestleMania. That's just my take. I think 6 months build would be better than like 3 or 4 months build.
No, I agree with that, absolutely. It didn't occur to me because I'm so focused on covering NXT Brooklyn and then covering SummerSlam next time we take. I didn't think about mingling him and Lesnar until you said that. It makes total sense.
Okay. Well, there you have it. So we'll see what happens. That could be a match of the year contender. Joe versus Nakamura.
It could be.
I mean, that and Asuka versus Bayley, both of those matches could be match of the year contenders. Especially if Joe and Nakamura, I mean, that match is going to be intense as hell. I mean, it's going to be just a slobber knocker. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's going to be a battle. All right, so that'll wrap it up.
I've not seen Joe this pissed off since he debuted in NXT, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it should be fun. So that'll wrap it up for our thoughts on the NXT Brooklyn 2 pay-per-view predictions. Follow Jeff at _Jeff Meacham on Twitter, and stay tuned. We will have our SummerSlam pay-per-view predictions. That will be the next video going up. Stay tuned for that. YouTube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ or YouTube.com/NoDQCAW. We will see you guys then. Thanks for watching.